All right. So we will start from the top. Thank you all for bearing with me on a couple minutes of technical difficulties, but these are the times we live in, right? Um, cool. So what's up? My name is Sevve. Um, I'm here to talk to you about rock climbing and mental training. I use the pronouns he, him, his. And I'm just super psyched to be here talking to you guys about something that's really near and dear to me, which is both rock climbing, of course, but also not just looking at the physical side of it, but also exploring the mental, psychological side of it. Please do ask questions throughout. Adon and I are working together, and any question that you ask on the chat, I'm going to be able to see here on Zoom. And I always find that it's a more dynamic, engaging experience if the viewers can ask questions throughout. So I got a path that will go down, but if we take some twists and turns along the way, that's all the better. So cool. Before we go into rock climbing, I just wanted to share with you pretty briefly, but nonetheless share with you a little bit about who I am and what my background is. So yeah, I think it's the left side of the screen. It's my left anyway. There's a picture of my mom, Susan, and I. And then below that are my two sisters, Bryn and Mariah. And then, of course, my dad, Larry, and I here on skis. Yeah, they're a huge part of my life. Super blessed to have an awesome family. As you can see, or predict maybe, I grew up in northern Minnesota. And that's really where my love of being in the wilderness began. My dad and I would spend, hours, most of the day, out in the woods learning. He would teach me about the different plants and animals of the Northwoods. We would collect firewood that we would burn each year, to heat our house in the sub-zero Minnesotan temperatures. So that's a little bit about like my upbringing. Um, as a professional, I worked in the National Park Service, Yosemite Valley, and also the Black Canyon of the Gunnison for the early portion of my career. And I got to climb a whole bunch, of course, in Yosemite Valley and then also the Black Canyon. And after that, I transitioned into public charter education. So the soccer team in the lower right hand corner is one of like my most prized memories of charter education. Getting to work with these just mega talented boys was super enjoyable, and I'll miss those days. Today, I work in the corporate world, so it's certainly a less stressful experience. But yeah, I miss those connections a little, to some extent. But anyway, I'm an instructional designer working to educate adults now. In my free time, if I'm not rock climbing, I love engaging with the mountains in some sort of way. So, backcountry skiing, trail running, blending trail running with scrambling and climbing is kind of where my passion has been lately. So there you have it. That's just a bit about me. Oh yeah, I went to college in Duluth, Minnesota. So yeah, let's pivot. I live here in Denver, Colorado now. That's where I call home. And before we continue, I just wanted to give a shout out to Midwest Mountaineering, Adon Torres for putting the whole expo on. Of course, Rod and Sharon, the owners, they presented just before me about Patagonia. It looked amazing. I definitely want to go down there again and see some of the places that they've been that I haven't. So just like nothing but gratitude to Midwest for putting on events like this. Part of their mission is to get people outside, and that's super aligned with my mission. So super cool. Um, Here's what we're covering today. We're gonna cover like what is the Rock Warriors Way, and then the bulk of my presentation is just gonna be sharing my journey to becoming a Warriors Way trainer. Which, to be clear, I am not yet. I am a trainer in training, with my teaching tour and practicum scheduled for late winter, early spring 2021. So I'm on the home stretch and I'm not in a hurry to get there because it's super fun to work with Arno and Laure, who I'll introduce shortly. So anyway, I'll kind of go in depth about what my journey with Warriors Way has been. I'm going to share a couple of my personal experiences while climbing with some of the free mind training, which I'll explain, and the falling and commitment concepts, which I'll explain, because it's been super impactful in my my personal climbing life, and I'm excited to to share that with others. But honestly, if I never became a trainer, I wouldn't have a single regret because it's been super transformative in my own climbing life, and also just in my personal life. We'll end with some different options that are available for those of you that are psyched and want to explore, a little bit beyond the physical side of climbing. And yeah, we'll have some time for Q&A, which looks different when I used to present at the School of Business. So maybe we'll do Q&A throughout and not do Q&A at the end. All right, so why am I here? Why do I care so much about this topic? Or what's my objective for this? My objective, after reflecting, was just really simple. I want to share my journey of developing greater awareness, practicing falls while climbing, working with fear and anxiety, both on the rock and outside of climbing. And then, maybe most importantly, developing a deeper relationship with myself throughout that whole process. So, in the chat, I'd love to hear how many of you are familiar with Arno Ilgner, author of The Rock Warriors Way. That was his first book. And potentially, some of you have read Espresso Lessons. That's his second book. Or maybe you've taken a class, or maybe you've heard that there are classes. The climber here is Laure Saberin, and they are the lead, or they're the climbing trainer. So I've been working with them and being mentored by both Arno and Laure throughout this process. To start, I just wanted to read a really quick excerpt from the one and only Rock Warriors Way, which I'll share my genesis with this, but I first read this 14 years ago when I was living in Yosemite Valley. I had climbed for like 2 or 3 years, and it just really expanded my mind about a different way of engaging with climbing. The Rock Warriors Way focuses on applying the warrior mindset to rock climbing, using ideas and exercises that have come from years of Arno's own reading and research, personal experience on the rock, and work with his students in training seminars. Essentially, a warrior is an impeccable hunter of personal power. They gain power by taking forays into the unknown, where they focus their attention, grapple with chaos, and learns from the experience. Want to keep reading. Next, he goes into the basic tenets of the Rock Warrior's Way, but I'll leave that to you to explore if you're so inclined. And yeah, it just really resonates with me. Like my personal journey outside of climbing has been one of, increasing awareness through meditation, finding ways of staying in my power. And, it's really hard, like constantly losing awareness, constantly falling out of my power. But, it's a journey that's worth engaging, is my belief. So Arno and Laure, they are both awesome, and I am grateful to call them my friends. Sweet. So how did I go on this journey to become a trainer? It's circuitous, so stay with me here. Like I said, Yosemite, 2006, I was working as a park ranger intern with the Student Conservation Association, and I read this book. It really helped me understand basic concepts like a yes fall and a no fall. Yes fall being I am 3 feet above my cam. It's a quality placement. There's no ledge below me. A no fall zone might be I haven't placed a cam in 20 feet. It's low angle terrain, and I'm going to bounce all over the place if I fall. And a whole bunch of other concepts that, once again, I'll leave to you to check out. But it was really formative in my climbing life. And of course, the first time you read anything, there's still a lot left to learn. The picture with the funny looking helmet, that's what helmets looked like in 2006, by the way. That's me on the east buttress of El Capitan with my dear friend Joe Manlove, who really taught me how to climb, along with Mike Odberg and Blake Sezier up at the College of St. Scholastica. But I'd climbed for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then went to the mecca of climbing, and was climbing these routes that were like definitely in my stress zone, where it was like, wow, I'm really stretching what I'm capable of. But it was also one of the most liberating and freeing experiences. This is the other, the picture. The other picture is with my dear friend Scott Risdall. And, he and I basically, with a couple of mentors, taught one another to climb. So he visited me while I was working out there. He later got a job there, and we, just stormed Yosemite Valley. That season, my first and actually my second season, so 2006 and then 2008, I took 2 like massive falls. Since that point, I've never fallen that far. And fortunately for me, I'm here and I'm okay. But the reason I bring it up is, at that time I was this young emboldened climber that didn't have the tools to really engage with climbing like I do today. And so I think part of the reason I took those huge falls is I didn't understand fully the difference between yes and no fall zones, or the difference between the stress zone and the panic zone. And I think those 2 falls did have like a lasting trauma on me, not in like this horrific way, but just I carried that into my climbing life for years after. And so I've been really glad to be able to work with that and develop a a new relationship with that. Yeah, these are the two routes that I fell on. One on the picture on the left with the red line, that's Royal Arches. I was climbing with somebody I'd met in Camp 4, like the Dirtbag Climbers Campground, and we were actually consciously off route passing a party. And we did not have the gear for the super wide pitch that we were on, and we also didn't know what it was rated. So, one of those decisions that I wasn't super intentionally making. The other route was Serenity Crack, which is this other picture of the nice looking crack. And in that particular situation, I was in my panic zone. I was super run out. I was too pumped to play skier. I decided to keep climbing, and I got literally to the last mantle move to clip the anchor on like the third pitch. It's the 10D crux pitch, and man, did I go for a ride. Once again, nothing was below me. Could have been a yes fall, but anyway, those two experiences have stayed with me. So yeah, that was sort of my early relationship with the Rock Warriors way. Continued to climb avidly for the next 14 years. And one of the things I do outside of climbing is I'm in a men's group, and each year we set impossible goals. And the idea is it should be so outrageous that you can't obtain it, but in the process, you become a better man. My impossible goal that I came up with, they rejected at first. It was like to climb 13B and run an ultra marathon, and they're like, that's not impossible. You got to keep dreaming. So I spent 6 months reflecting, off and on, and I came back with the idea to become a nationally renowned trainer in the mental training world. So I emailed Arno and said basically exactly what I just told you. Told him I was interested in working with him, and he got back to me. And over the course of the next many months, we slowly developed a relationship and a friendship, and explored the idea of working together. Part of that process is here on this picture. We went climbing in El Dorado Canyon State Park, which is just south of Boulder. And yeah, this is on the Winds Tower. And it was a super enjoyable day. So yeah, we once again didn't rush into anything. And we found that we had a lot in common and that our values were similar. And so, we forged ahead. Another thing that needed to happen was I needed to see if I liked the courses that he and Laura teach. So this is what a falling in commitment course could potentially look like. You actually take a fall on top rope first. So, you stay in your stress zone, but don't go into your panic zone. But anyway, I went to Flagstaff and took a falling in commitment course. It's a 4-hour course, and you incrementally build skill by practicing falls, essentially. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's one of the general concepts. I went and took the course, and there I was, having climbed for 15 years, and my gosh, I learned so much. It just goes to show that no matter what your experience level or skill level is, my belief is you always have more to learn. And it's been kind of mind-blowing just to see how much deeper I can go with my like my relationship with climbing, my relationship with myself. So yeah, I took a falling in commitment course. That was cool. Told Arno, hey, I'm psyched. He said, cool, you're gonna have to develop a relationship with a guiding service in a gym. And I thought, hey, no problem. So The first guy I thought of was Kevin Caps. That's the guy in the yellow jacket. I met Kevin Caps in 2012 or 2013, when Dan Brazel and he's actually a local. He's an OG in the Minnesota climbing community. Talented lawyer. So if you want to go climbing or you need lawyering, hit Dan Brazel up. Yeah, we climbed the casual route, and wouldn't you know it, Kevin and his now wife Laura were right behind us. And after I got off the diamond, I stayed in touch with him. I actually went out with him a couple days and collected information for the guidebook, Clear Creek Canyon, which he wrote. So he was the first guy I thought of. I messaged him on Facebook and he got back to me within like 5 minutes, and he's like, absolutely, we would love to work with you and offer falling and commitment courses. So that was easy. I got back to Arno and he's like, wow, great. In the age of COVID, we're still figuring out gyms, and hope to have some gyms here in the Front Range and potentially down there in Minnesota with you guys. But yeah, it's the world we live in, right? Everything's a little more fluid with COVID. All right, so Arno, we got to a point, and Arno said, "All right, we would love for you to be a trainer." And I'm like, "Great. What's next?" The free mind training was next. The free mind training is potentially difficult for me to explain to you, but let me try. The free mind training is all about developing awareness. And we do that through different practices. Arno pulls from a variety of teachings, some Eastern philosophy, some martial arts books, Carlos Castaneda, you name it. So, some of the drills were to develop body awareness through qigong practices, bringing awareness to good, bad language. Let me give you an example. Somebody asks you, "How are you doing?" And I say, "I'm doing great. I'm doing good." "Oh, good, man. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, doing good." A reframe of that would be to say something like, "Man, I am feeling a lot of joy in this moment. I am glad to be seeing you," or something like that. And the idea is good and bad language speaks to a polarity, and things are never black and white. And they sort of cheapen these words, good and bad, cheapen our ability to really experience what we are experiencing. We practice the 1-2-3 drill, which is 1, accepting the situation, not trying to change it. 2, defenselessness, so offering compassion to myself or somebody else that's that I'm working with. And then tough love, taking a small step towards an unmet need. I've got some examples I'll share with you later on. So yeah, there's drills sprinkled throughout. It's about mental flexibility, not toughness. The material is super eclectic. It's a compilation of many of the great minds in mental training. And so basically, Laura and I and Arno would journal back and forth. We would meet once a week for 1 hour. And in the meantime, I would have different themes or drills or practices that I was working with. Laura encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone and set an inspiring goal. And so, I mean, it was super impactful, really nice. Yeah, here we are chatting on Zoom because Arno's in Tennessee and Laura travels around the United States, is based in the Arizona Flagstaff areas. So yeah, I took the free mind training. I finished, gosh, I don't know, in recently, finished recently. So that's sort of becoming familiar with Arno and Lore and their teachings. Then, of course, there's a skill set that I need to acquire. If I'm going to be a guide, I have to be certified with the AMGA. So I took my single pitch instructor course with Denver Mountain Guides, and it was awesome. You know, once again, I'm thinking, oh, I've climbed for 14, 15 plus years. This single pitch instructor course seems like I should be dialed and have it all down. In fact, I was able to up level tons of my skills, and I feel way more confident with just a lot of different systems. And then I also took my my wilderness first aid course. So yeah, just feel generally more autonomous in the wilderness setting, which is super cool. So yeah, get some water. That that's basically my journey. Oh, before I get into a couple of anecdotes, a couple of stories about applying the free mind concepts and the falling in commitment concepts. I just want I wanted to say the last phase of becoming a trainer will be to practice and go on a teaching tour. So Lore, Arno, and I are going to be offering clinics in, let's see, Flagstaff, Red Rock Canyon, Moab, Utah, and here in the Front Range. So again, I'll be co-teaching. Some of the times I'll just be listening. And then I'll take my practicum. So, you know, at that point I'll be a trainer. So that's the journey, right? But I'm sure you're wanting to know, like, what does it actually do? That's nice. Like, that's a nice story of yours, Sevve. But like, what's the point of it? And so I'll share a couple things with you. This June, I started working on a route called Ouroboros. Ouroboros is a 12D in the Flatirons. It's on overhang rock, and it's like 42 meters long. It's massive. So you need an 80-meter rope to get down. Initially, the route felt like super impossible on my first attempt. I made quick progress and actually almost sent the route my third try. I actually fell like at the 41st meter above the last bolt. And in reflecting on that experience, that third attempt, what I realized is I had sort of like blacked out. And what I mean by that is when I'm climbing, specifically something that's at my limit or, you know, near my limit, there's the tendency to lose touch. I have the tendency to lose touch with my body. And so I fell, and it's almost like I was observing my body, but I wasn't there experiencing it. So I tried the route like 2 or 3 different days. And I did not send it until my 7th attempt. And at the crux, like, which happens way up towards the top, I felt I had awareness of the desire to like leave my body and leave, you know, just kind of go into fight or flight mode. And it was really cool because all in the span of like, you know, 1/10 of a second, I thought, no, stay here, Sevve. How does this hold feel in your hand? Experience what it's like to clip this bolt while you're a little bit stressed out, and like stay with yourself. And that I've never had that awareness en route. Um, and it was really special, right? Like I seek these peak experiences not to black out and go into fight or flight mode and forget them. I actually seek these experiences to experience them and to be there during the process. Uh, so that's one. The Warrior's Way teaches body awareness. It and also just awareness, period. This is a special crag down in the southwestern corner of Colorado. If you guys are super geeked out on climbing videos like I am, you may have seen Jonathan Segrist bolting some routes at this exact crag, which is pretty cool. It's kind of a forgotten crag. So went there for the weekend. And on the end of the first day, I hung draws on this beautiful black streak called Savage and Beautiful Country. It's a new route. It just went up. That's why there's the little plaque there, because it hadn't even made it into Mountain Project yet. And so I made progress on it the first day. I got to the upper crux, or one of the upper cruxes, and fell. And I was like, cool, I'll try it the next day. So the next day, there were some other people on it, and it was like going a little slower. I fell on the route once, and I was faced with, it's like 4 p.m. We're about ready to leave. I'm tying in for my very last attempt. And I realized I wasn't ready. So I actually walked into the woods. I sat down, and I practiced the 1, 2, 3 drill. Like, one, observing that I was being like pretty hard on myself. Like, you must send this. I can't believe you're still, and I just closed my eyes, and I was like sitting there pretzel style, just practicing my breath. And I told myself, Sevve, no matter what happens, I'll still love you. And, so I was able to, in this really real way, practice defenselessness and offer myself compassion. And then the tough love step, I took a step, I tied in and I tried the route, and I faced that potential rejection of, that potential, it's not a failure, but potential failure, and how that might make me feel. So, I mean, suffice it to say, to go from, whatever I was doing for 15 years to being able to practice the 1, 2, 3 drill and like audibly tell myself that I'll love myself no matter what happens, is like it's a big step for me. And I will say that it's super common in the climbing world. There are many climbers that are driven by outcomes, myself included. Not here to tell you that's not part of my journey, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like we can enjoy the process. We can be in the stress of learning, and and still be loving towards ourselves. All right, we're doing pretty good on time. 6:15. You guys got any questions? I haven't heard from Adon. All right, well, don't be shy. Ask questions if you got. This is Indy Pass, right around September. One of the things the Warrior's Way teaches in falling in commitment classes specifically is just like maximal commitment. You're either thinking, which is often, like you're resting and thinking. So you're at maybe a ledge or a jug, and you're like, Okay, I'm resting. There's my next bolt. It looks like there's a crimp there and a gaston there. And then when you switch to movement, which is not a thinking task, you're fully committed. So yeah, this is a route that was like challenging for me to on-site. Um, but by fully committing to the movement, I was able to do it. Um, there's actually like up towards the top of the route. Um, there's like a dyno move basically. And that's a perfect example of something. That's an example of like something that you can't partially commit to. If you're going to do a dyno or like a stab, like a huck move, like a big dynamic move, you got to fully commit. Saw there's a question for where the falling classes take place, and I'll actually share that information next towards the end. Last, I think this is my last little, okay, cool. So yeah, really briefly, this is recently in Wild Iris. This is a route called Enter the Dragon. It's felt really hard. And what's up, Mike? So good to hear from you, man. Um, let's connect. Uh, yeah, Enter the Dragon, right? It's 12C. It's right at my on-site level, right? It's like very outer fringe of my ability to on-site. And on this route, I had the unique experience to observe my mind, say, dude, you are tired and this is way too hard. You can't do this. And then again, in like a split second, pivot and stay committed to the next move. And this happened for like 10 consecutive moves. I did end up, I think anyway, I did end up like partially giving up and just jumping off the route and taking a fall. And you know, because it's not like you commit once. You don't commit once and then you're good. It's every moment, every move, every foot movement, hand movement, etc. So, you know, that's the cool thing about climbing. You have to commit over and over and over again. Um, Sweet. So, yeah, there's tons of ways you guys can get involved. And I just want to be super clear that like I'm not here to sell you anything. If you are psyched and you want to explore mental climbing, great. These are some avenues. Um, if you take one of my courses, like I obviously get paid, but I in no other way um, get compensated for saying any of this. It's a genuine interest of mine, and I think it truly can be transformative in your climbing life and in my climbing life. Um, but hey, no pressure. Okay, so in the age of COVID, Arno and Laura have put together some really cool options. There is the free mind. Oh, okay. And somebody asked for info to take the falling classes. The avenue you're going to want to go to is warriorsway.com. So check out Warriors Way. You'll see all of the information here. And I actually have a sign up sheet that I'm hoping Adon can send out. And I'm going to be doing a clinic in late summer, early fall 2021 at Barn Bluff. I'll cover that in a moment though. So yeah, there's free mind individual training. So that'd be like one-on-one working with Laura or Arno. There's free mind group trainings, which you can see here in this picture, you know, small groups, 4 to 6 people, but online red pointing. So, you know, red pointing is trying a route that's at your limit. So maybe you've tried it 5, 10, 20 times. And then also just an online falling course where you practice things like breathing, eyes, body. Exhale as you're falling. Breathing Yeah, so exhale, looking down with a soft gaze, and then being alert with your body. Super cool question. For non-climbers, but lovers of the outdoors, is Warrior's Way relevant to other outdoor activities? Running, hiking, skiing, walking, canoeing, etc. Um, yeah, it is. It's super relevant. You'd want to explore like the free mind training. You wouldn't go down like the falling and commitment avenue, because that wouldn't be relevant. But the free mind training, again, is like an awareness practice. Um, there are some climbing concepts, so it's important that that you had some relationship with climbing, but it's applicable in other ways, I guess, is my point. Okay. In-person opportunities. So this could be in a gym, or it could be outside. So there's gym, sport, trad, and bouldering. So honestly, the best way, because I know there might be people from like really anywhere, it's not just Minnesota. The best way to learn about this is to go on to thewarriorsway.com and just explore different, where different courses are being taught, because we have trainers all over the United States, and we're actually in Mexico and Spain. So it's literally a worldwide network of trainers. Cool. So one of the things I'm super psyched about is like I get to share this with the Minnesota climbing community. I am myself a product of the Minnesota climbing community. I'm super loyal to the Minnesota climbing community, and I'm going to be traveling back to the Midwest. I hope 2+ times a year to offer clinics at Red Wing. So I've already talked with the city of Red Wing, Denver Mountain Guides. We're all good. And there is a sign-up sheet. And I think honestly, the best way for you to get information on that, because I realize that Adon may not be able to blast that out to everyone right now, is to hit me up on Instagram. I'll show you my email address in a moment. But yeah, if you want to take a falling and commitment course this, again, this coming summer/fall, hit me up on Instagram. I'll get your contact information, and then when I have dates, I'll reach out to you. No pressure, but if you want to follow myself, Rock Warriors Way, Laura Saberin, and Denver Mountain Guides, these are our Insta handles. I do want to jump back, actually, and say that if you're interested in checking out these books, you actually can get a 2-for-1. Save yourself, looks like what, $8 or something. Or you can also buy the books individually from Arno. So check that out on Warriors Way, warriorsway.com. And if you're not on Instagram, no big deal. Here's my email address. Reach out.